Now, protests in Turkey have spread to the capital Ankara after police broke up a demonstration in Istanbul. They fired tear gas and used water cannon in both cities. 63 people were detained and 12 injured in Istanbul following what's been 4 days of protests over plans to revamp one of the city's landmarks, Taksim Square. Well, I'm joined now by the BBC correspondent Jody Sabral, who's just returned from Istanbul. Thanks very much indeed for coming in. I say this seems to have started as a result of a revamp of one of the main squares, but is that really the story?
Well, yes, it began as a peaceful sit-in by environmentalists who were against the trees being ripped up from the square, and it's kind of a rare green space in downtown Istanbul. But what happened was this morning, police went into that park and tear gassed sleeping protesters using very heavy-handed tactics. So it quickly became something else, and then it became wider. And now this is the protest that we've seen today in Ankara, in solidarity with the protesters and the clashes in Istanbul, has become much more of an anti-government movement.
Right. Okay, so there was a specific sort of demonstration to begin with, and this has become a wider opportunity for people with grievances against the government to actually get involved.
Yes, because this is an indication of AK Party's, how they see AK Party's policies. I mean, the police...
This is the ruling party?
Yeah, the ruling party, because they went in, they authorised the police to go into the park this morning and tear gas sleeping protesters, which is a very heavy-handed tactic to deal with them. This is the third term of AK Party government, and they were elected in the last elections with the highest percentage of the popular vote ever. So they are now, it seems, implementing their agenda, which is much more conservative, with complete confidence. And we've seen this in the last couple of years. Turkey has gone through a crackdown on freedom of expression, any kind of dissent, which is what we're seeing today on the streets. We're seeing police go in very heavy-handedly, using tear gas against demonstrators on the streets. The protest in Ankara initially started against some what they call anti-democratic legislation that was passed last week, which included more restrictions on the sale of alcohol, and also a morality law that is to discourage public kissing. So a kind of these protesters are saying that this is a kind of AK Party implementing a more conservative, and some might say anti-democratic Islamist agenda. And so that's why these protests have become much more widespread.
Right, sort of flared up. Okay, so I mean, how much worse could this get then, bearing in mind that, as you say, this party has been voted in for the third time and with a massive majority?
Well, yeah, this is a faction of Turkish society that is a minority now, but they're a minority that's very vocal, and they feel that they are living under siege, and that's why this protest has garnered support. And there are other protests, we believe, planned in at least 3 large cities over the weekend in Turkey. I imagine that the police will use much more tear gas overnight, and we'll see if the protesters come back out tomorrow. But this is it's a very staunch kind of vocal voice against these kind of conservative policies that seem to be implemented by AK Party.
Okay, Jody Sabral, it's good to have you, and thanks for coming in. Thank you. Now, unemployment across the Eurozone has risen to a new high. Another 95,000 people joined the ranks of the jobless, taking the total to 1 in 8 of the workforce. Italy is one of the hardest hit, where unemployment is at its highest level for more than 36 years. But there's been more positive signs from the UK. Here's Hugh Pym.